Let me, you see what I mean? It's like lens flare time. Hold on one second. Let me.
You're good. We should have had you in the dark do this, and then we could have cut it.
Yeah. Like that. Like, well, we could go back and do it. Do you want to do it?
Kind of. Would you want?
Yeah,
let's do it.
Hold on. Okay, guys, I got to go and just turn on a light real quick. Hold on.
My reaction might have been a bit much. The culture of FilmQuest. I wanted to talk about, you do this really cool thing. I think basically anytime there's like a networking event at FilmQuest, I'm trying to remember what you say verbatim, but like go out there and make 10 new friends, this and that. And I'm curious to know, like, from your perspective, like, what do you think is sort of like a good approach for people to get the most out of a film festival?
What I normally say is, like, add 5 people or 10 people to your social media, get their phone numbers, and like text each other about, like, go and actually talk about a project you can make together right now. It all began with our speed dating, now that other festivals started doing, but we used to have the filmmaker speed dating. We have so many now, we can't do it the way that we used to do it. But it came down to 3 things, where it was like who you are, what you do, and what your project is, and what you're looking for, right? Like, that you need. Like, do I need a composer? Do I need a writer? Do I need a director, right? It's great for screenwriters in particular. And then you meet somebody and you have 3 minutes with each other to talk, introduce each other, and then exchange your contact and find out how you can actually work together and help each other, right? And this year we evolved that to where Jonna had a great idea that she came up with. I think we're going to keep doing it. And in fact, I think one group are literally making one of these films. Is they all just sat next to each other during the brunch-in at their table, and the getting to know your thing was they had like 15 or 20 minutes to basically, with all like these little cue card things and what have you, to come up with a film together, like a pitch.
That is fun. I got to do that last, the fest. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think one of the groups are legitimately doing it.
Oh, that's
right?
amazing.
And so this is what it's about. It's about, like, actionable.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not, obviously, but a lot of people are introverted, right? Like, I do think it's difficult for an introvert to succeed in this industry. It's not impossible, but I think it's inherently difficult because it's just harder for you to put yourself out there, right? You've already put yourself out there by making the piece and that vulnerability. And so, that's just kind of the natural state of the introversion. But when you come to a festival, you really got to pull yourself out as much as you can. And so these events, these efforts, the Q&As, the parties, the networking luncheons, the hatchet throwing, right? All the stuff that we do, it is designed to not just do what we've already talked about, but to help the introvert, to help that person get out of their comfort zone, find a team, find a friend, find their person to talk to. So it is kind of done by design in that way, and always has been, because like I said, I've always been one that's always been very cognizant of, like, the kid who ate lunch alone at school, right? Like, I wish I was better when I was a kid and I went and talked to the kid maybe more, right? But, like, I've always been cognizant of that, like, the lonely person or something like that. And I don't want somebody to be lonely at FilmQuest. I feel like if somebody is lonely at FilmQuest, I've failed them. There's only so much I can do, right? I think we do a great job, but I still feel like I failed that person. I feel like I failed them if I notice that they're just by themselves. And I've seen other filmmakers observe it who are introverted themselves. Like, FilmQuest got me out of my shell, and I try to tell these other filmmakers, you can't just be there. And that's what I would tell filmmakers, like, you need to. You know what? Guess what, guys? People still do use business cards. Maybe less in America, but people still do. Put your Instagram handle on it. Put your TikTok. Put your Threads. Put your Facebook. Like, maybe it's not your phone number, but come with a really good-looking card. Don't just come with. I don't think anybody needs flyers anymore, to be frank. I don't think the 3x5 postcard at the festival really does anything anymore. I don't.
Okay.
I think that had its day in time.
I'm tired of throwing money away on them.
Yeah. I don't think you need to do that. You don't need to print a poster and play that post and put that poster up somewhere. Maybe unless you want to show up the red carpet.
No, but as an introvert myself, you do a really good job, because I do want to network more there and at festivals now more than I did previously in my film career because of FilmQuest. And how the people I've met there and kind of those connections I made, I've wanted to make those in other festivals now because of that kind of experience. And you're right, it's hard to succeed in this business as an introvert, which is why we're doing the podcast, because I'm forcing myself to get out there more and talk to more people.
That's right. Get
Yeah.
out. And it's not, and just to be clear, it's not impossible. It's like an added hurdle to the
Yes.
process. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, it's like, somebody might have this, so they're just ahead of that hurdle, but it doesn't mean, you know what I mean, that it's going to handicap you or anything like that.
You guys, FilmQuest has the best award show of any film festival I've ever been to.
Yes.
It is so fun. You gets you so hyped, because I've been to a award show, and I'm not trying to throw shade on any film festival. Sometimes, they'll read off, the nominee, and but you guys, I mean, you have bumpers with music, people are clapping, you get to see, if you've won, you get to see the video on screen. Like, it feels something more akin to like a bigger award show. And I think it's been really fun. You have the coolest trophies.
Yeah.
We are fortunate to have two. That's the real reason I got up a second ago.
Yes.
Is that what was falling over there?
No, I did not. I would never drop the Cthulhu. The most fun trophy to try to get through the TSA checkpoint. Although I did have a guy once. It was really cool because the Cthulhu, everything with like Cthulhu, like some people know and some people don't. But I was at the air, and the guy opens up the box, check it out. He goes, "Huh, Cthulhu, sick." And then puts it back in.
versus the other guy when you were like, it's an award.
Yeah, he was like, what do you got, a dragon? Even this shirt I've worn, we were staying at a bed and breakfast, and there was a couple, and they was really sweet couple, and they were military, and we were just talking, and they found out we made films and stuff, and we were talking, and I had this shirt on, and he goes, "Is that Cthulhu?" And he played like Dungeons and Dragons. Super cool guy, but it's just really neat to like that this thing just transcends a bunch of things.
For any viewers who are listening who are maybe first-time filmmakers or just want to know more about festival strategy stuff, ask a few questions, and we can do this kind of rapid fire too. So, what do you look for in when you're programming a film?
Yeah, and I want to say, like, it evolves a little bit from year to year. Like, we kind of find new things and stuff like that we want to kind of tweak the process even more, because we want to get better and better all the time. It begins with the production value. That's where it begins, right? Like, because honestly, that's the first thing you see, right? I know, especially with feature films, I know within frames, if a film is going to have the sauce, or is like going to be there. Like, people might be like, how is that? No, trust me, you see a few thousand films over like a decade, like, like, there's no excuse for your film not to look good anymore. Even if you're going for something lo-fi or like a certain like retro aesthetic or whatever it is, you can still make it look good for that aesthetic, right? There's really, things are so cheap, and they just are. Like, I mentioned the HVX 200 right at the get-go, and it's like, that thing is like a dinosaur brick now, you know what I mean? But like things have like changed so much. Like, there is no excuse that you can't make something that looks good, even on a budget. So now that we know that, story is still king, right? Actually, in our bylaws, we say that production value is king, but story is queen, and queen rules all, right? That's like something
I like it.
Came up with, right? So it's still going to come down to it, because if all things are even between two films, all things are even, completely equal, we're going to take the film with the better story, every day. So that's what I would say we look for. Obviously, there's creativity, originality, all sorts of things, but it really does begin with your production value. Like, that's a signal to us right out the gate.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and we've heard that before. How early do you start picking your favorites, and when they start coming in from early deadline to final? And do you recommend people submitting to that final deadline?
I recommend submitting as soon as you're ready. Like, it doesn't matter if you're the first film or if you're the last film. Listen, we've had films win that were the very last film submitted to the festival with a waiver deadline, right? Like, we do not formally, we start to kind of like, okay, it's a process that just happens in real time. Like, we do not formally pick a feature film until we've watched every single feature film. We might have our pile of be like, these are the ones we're going to say yes to, but we do not make it official until every single one has been reviewed.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to
because
come in and blow the
we
other ones
don't know
away.
what's going to come in that might bump, that might do certain things like that. Yeah, if we know that there's only going to be 2 more coming in, okay, now we can start, getting down and then saving the spots for the final slots until we see it, right? And making sure the balance is there. The shorts are a little bit different, but we don't start picking, like actually picking the shorts until the deadline. Like we've gone through the process and we're still watching a lot of things, right? But the reason why we're able to announce so close to our deadline is because we are watching the shorts as they're being submitted, right? Like I said, we begin next week, which is the last week of March, that we're going to start watching, and we will be actively doing that. And we have a lot of judges. More and more alumni judges want to do it. The way that we do it as well is, it could evolve a little bit, but this last year, every judge for the shorts, there were teams of 5. They were all blind to each other. They could not see each other's scores. They didn't know who else was on their team. A couple times they might write me and be like, hey, actually, this is my friend who did this film. Can you switch me out? And I'd be like, I just don't review it because it's too hard to actually switch you out to another team. And but they had 100 shorts. And then I did not reveal the scores of each other until we all met for like a 3-hour Zoom session with each other, where we went over every single film. I would review them all, and we would start at the worst reviewed from the aggregate score, because those are easy to say no to very quickly. Then once we got to the mid-level, we'd go to the top, so that now because you need a lot of films too to give context to what they're seeing. You know what I mean? If you're doing features, they honestly need 20 to 30 features. If they're doing shorts, they honestly need 50 to 100, because otherwise you don't have enough context. Then we go to the top, and now they're reminded of what like the 10 or 15 best are. And then it starts going down into the middle. The hardest are the middle, the ones that are like good, but they're not quite the top elite. And those are the hardest. And so out of those groups, and because we still do a ton. I mean, I watched individually myself just 1,200 films alone last year. But I know what I'm looking for. Like, I rarely need somebody else to watch the other film. I just, I know what it is now. And so, there's some internal debate about what the best, what's the most efficient way moving forward, because we end up doing a lot of extra work doing this process, because as great as that process is, and as fair as it is, like, that's it. Also, we the only exception is if you judge for us, that will give you a free, that's kind of like your payment for judging for us. Outside of that, every single film, from distributors to sales agent, must submit with at least some sort of fee. That's the only way to keep this fair and fair between all films and filmmakers, right? Like, yeah, of course we have some of our favorites, some of our alumni, people we love, but we want new blood too. We want a lot of new blood, and we want that all going in. And I know I'm kind of giving you a long answer, but at the end of the day, like, our process is actually very, very thorough. Every film is watched. It's watched by multiple judges, everything, even the ones that maybe don't justify it. And that's the process, features are a lot, even though we watch the complete feature, unless I'll be real, like, unless it's just unwatchable. Like, if it's just completely unwatchable, then, like, yeah, I got to stop after 10 minutes, because it's just like, there it is. But like, every short is watched completely, 100%. And the vast majority of, I would say, 80 to 90% of the features are watched completely by multiple judges. But there are, and I, if anybody wants to like get on their high horse about it, well, then you run a festival and screw you, right? Like, it's just like,
Got him.
Features, like, right? Like, yeah, it's just like, no, like, some of these features are in shorts too, but it's easier because they're only 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But like, features, like, you could honestly have the greatest ending in the history of mankind, and you still wouldn't sniff getting into the festival. Like, it's that bad. You know what I mean? It's just like, some of them are just unwatchable.
Do you fight them out sometimes when you get really close to those final few, like have debates between each other and like really fight for a film over others, or do you just go based on score?
Yeah, no, it's not all based off score. Like, the score is a gauge, but it's not the gospel. Like, one 6.7 isn't the 6.7 for another film. And by the way, 6.7 is actually a good score for us. We're generous, but we're strict, right? So we have a high standard of what, like, for example, everything's on a 1 to 10 scale. for all the categories, from cinematography to editing to music. Like everything is scored individually, from creativity to originality to all that. Like these are all separate. And you know, some of the very best films I've ever seen only scored like a 7.3, but that's because maybe this element wasn't as strong, but it's still a great film, you know. So you have to look at that. So it's a guide, but it's not the be all end all. But like, you know, sometimes we'll take a film if it's under a 6 overall, it's probably not got the sauce. But you know, we'll take a film that's like a 6. That's a very solid film. But you know, it just maybe didn't have the effects work or the sound work of something that was a 7.5, right? But to give you an idea from that 1 to 10 range, in our bylaws that we give our judging for the rubric, it's like, okay, guys, to be clear, this is what a 10 and a 9 is. What you see at the cinema with like $100 million budget, with like an effects budget of this, like that's your 10 and 9. Like, to be very, very clear, because here's the reality. That is what a general audience member thinks a film should look like. So that's your 10 or 9 right there. That's what it is. I'm not saying that for the acting and all that, but yeah, that's where it is. And frankly, there's a lot of features, a lot of shorts that look that good. There really are. I mean, you guys might have saw Em and Selma go griffin hunting at the fest last year. Like the effects work in that
insane.
Is like absurd. It's like anything you would see in a Marvel movie, even better than some of the stuff.
It's very good.
Right? Like it's crazy good how good it is. And so, no, it's not impossible to have those numbers, but that's what we're looking at, right? And then when it comes to like the nominations, we really start at something. If that category overall has been scored, you know, from the cumulative scores and all that, have really been scored less than a 7, then we're not going to consider it for a nomination. Yes, there's some exceptions and all that, but it really needs a score in a 7, 8, 9, or 10 to be on the short list for a nomination. Okay. But there's a lot, right? We have so many films and all that. So we end up, when we have a short list for like editing, for example, it always begins with like 80 or 100 shorts, you know, like, and then we have to go through and work our way through that and all that. That's where a lot of the arguments really happen. But we did have a film last year. I won't name it because that wouldn't be fair to the film or anything like that. But
yeah,
it really it was a very good, very original film. If we were in different circumstances with some of the things that we're trying to do, or if we were in a different area, I'll say that we would have taken the film. But because there were some, not necessarily harsh politics, but there were some things we needed to be very aware of. There were some things that we need to be aware of our community and our audience and all that. It wasn't a fit for what we were trying to do. Although we really liked the film, we wanted to take the film, and it was a solid film. And we see that a lot and that was our big debate. And so we ended up taking one film over the other film because of it. Even though the other film was stronger, there was reasons, you know, as far as it goes. And you know, at the end of the day, we still have to do what's best for the festival and our community, you know.
That brings up another question I was going to ask is like red flags. What's like a red flag out of the gate you're not getting in this festival?
Something that just looks like crap. I'm sorry. Like, and there's a lot of it. There's less of it than there used to be, actually. Like from like even 5-6 years ago, it's getting harder because there's more access to these tools, right? And one thing that we overlook is Gen Z and the younger generation, they don't understand the art of editing, but they are born knowing how to edit because of social media and TikTok and all these things.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
The no way you're getting in is when it just looks like,
sort of by content.
You know it when you see it. It's hard to say, but you know it the moment you see it, like the moment you see it. And it's either because it's just out of focus or it's shot very poorly on a cell phone, or you're like
the boom mic.
You know, yeah, but like, so that's one thing. But then content wise, we do actually have some rules. We're a genre fest, so you know, I don't really care about language and stuff like that. But I want my judges to flag nudity. I need to know if like nudity's in there. That's not going to disqualify a film, but I need to know the context of it. I need to know the extent of it. And anything with like, unless it's like, obviously if this is Schindler's List, there's a reason there's hate speech in it, right? Because it's obviously telling a story. But if there's something that's like denigrating a religious group or a sexuality, a sexual group orientation, or a certain community and stuff like that, if they're really denigrating it, and it's not because they're in on the joke or anything like that, you're going to have an uphill battle getting into the festival. Like, it's just, we're not there to celebrate your probably misinformed message about a group they're in, and also anything to do with, like, obviously extreme violence towards women, and of course rape. In that case, the rape, if there's rape, I better see that flagged, and if I didn't see it, right, and there better be a reason that is very justified for that story, for that rape to be in there, right? Because, like, we are not going to, we just are not going to celebrate those things, obviously aftermath of the rape or some sort of thing like that, that's a different story. But, like, if it's on screen and we're seeing something with that extreme, and of course towards children as well too, of course, that type of stuff, like, yeah, there's definitely going to be some things that hit hard, and and there's a reason we should see these things and stuff like that. But just be very, very aware of extreme, and of course extreme graphic sexuality, and that's basically pornographic stuff like that, right? Semen can be played for laughs in a good way. I've seen some good semen jokes, so
What's the one thing that you wish filmmakers knew before submitting to a festival?
I don't know if I can answer the question directly about what I wish they knew before, but I could say something that they should definitely figure out before they make their movie, which will help them in submitting to festivals. And that is, what kind of movie are you making realistically, and who are you making that movie for? Yes, we all are making the movie for ourselves. We all know this. That's why we make the movie. Unless you're just a slave to money and you're in a fortunate position that people are paying you to make this movie, like, you are making the movie for yourself. We get it. I know. But be realistic. Know who your film is for, and then target and plan your strategy based around that. There is not a movie that has ever been made that exists, that includes Star Wars, that includes Barbie, that includes Lord of the Rings, that everybody has seen. There is not a single one. So now that you know that not everybody in the world is going to see your movie, now you can go and target those like that audience. Now okay, I'm making a film for this audience. This is who it's for. Obviously, I want more people to see it, but now I can target it. So now strategize that, plan that, and now you can start your film festival run around that too, once your film is made. But be realistic with yourself. I know that we all have hopes and dreams. I've had hopes and dreams. I've been very fortunate. I've been very blessed with a lot of success with my films. But that is not all by just luck and circumstance, right? That was strategy behind it. There was research put into it. There was real effort before I started putting real money into even putting it out there. So look at that, be real, and approach that. And then you're going to find that you have a lot more success, and you're also going to have a lot less disappointment when you try to take it out to market. Another thing I'm going to say, if you're making a feature film, you have to. Do not give me this slow burn crap. I see so many slow burns in a year. I like a slow burn. Don't get me wrong. But guess what? Guess what's not playing a film festival? Unless it was Sundance or Tribeca, maybe us in the future. But guess what's not playing a festival are the slow burn movies that were made for a couple $1 million that have names in them. Okay? Very, very, very few slow burn movies are appealing, nor do they justify it. So you need to hook us in the first 5 to 10 minutes. The sooner, the better. Even if it's your most exciting scene in the whole movie, get it in the first 10 minutes. And that's just not me as a festival director. Good festival programming and good festivals, and that's what draws the attention of distributors, because they think like sales, and they think like distribution, and they think like buyers. You have to hook us. Every minute after that, basically 8 to 10 minute mark, the value of your film is just diminishing significantly. You must hook us. And shorts, they can afford, hey, a 10-minute short's a 10-minute short. We get it, right? But, like, understand, like, the art of the micro short. Like the 5-minute short, what does it do, right? It gets you in, it like does that. Understand that, right? Like, if you have to rethink your film, your feature film, like where that first 5 to 10 minutes is like a short film, and then you go into the story, then rethink it like that. People have been telling stories since the dawn of civilization and time, right? And you want to know the truth? When they got around the fire and they were telling the story, if the story sucked, they would say, "Ugh, get off." Right? Like they'd beat him across the head with the club, and Ugg might be dinner the next day.
If your story sucked, you died.
Like, keep that in mind. Be realistic here. Like, understand what an audience wants to see. How many times do you sit watching a show on Netflix? You're like, I'll see that. And you stop watching after 5 minutes because it sucks or nothing's happening, or 10 minutes. Or after the first episode, you're like, didn't really dig it. And that's an important thing I want to bring up about AVOD, especially when it comes to features. Keep in mind, your goal is to get bought and picked up by distributors and buyers. AVOD, advertising video on demand, is paid for. They need your film. They need an audience to keep watching the film after the first commercial break. If they turn off before that first commercial break is over, you get zero payout. So what is your value to a distributor? It's almost nothing. So you need to realize that, like, yes, you are chasing advertising, which guess what? Guess what, everybody? That's exactly how television was. All we did was bring back cable.
Yeah.
Like, that's all we've done, right? Like, it's just cable in a new form. And the reason why fast channels are growing rapidly is because they found out how good the money is with advertising.
We've been trying to like sort of quantify like over the years, like what is, like what you're saying, like what is that secret sauce? Like, obviously at the end of the day, we want to make, but if there is a way we can add something to a film or a project that sort of not guarantees, because nothing's guaranteed, but gives us a better chance to get into, the fests, like what is that thing? And you know what we've learned? Nothing. But it brings me back to what you're saying. Like, sometimes there's like, you can do all the right things and you can impress, but there's still not like, but I don't mean that in like a hopeless way. I think that just comes to show you just like how volatile sometimes this industry can be with like, what's working, what's not working, what's trending, what's not trending, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy, and I'll give you guys a story. Like, so we had a film that, in the very first FilmQuest, it was Oscar nominated. It was called Death of a Shadow. Awesome film. Probably should have won the Oscar, right? Awesome film. Became friends with the filmmaker. And he did a film a couple of years ago called, that only had Numi Rapace in it. Oh my gosh, what's it called? Hearts of Stone. So a statue comes to life in the way they did.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah.
They won some competitions, some qualifying competitions, but he didn't get shortlisted or nominated in the end. But I bring that up because the film that won the Oscar last year, I'm Not a Robot, and I won't name the festival because it's a very, very good festival. I just kind of disagree with their philosophy. They kind of told me that they didn't take the film because it had already Oscar qualified at that point. So they wanted to give the space to somebody else. But I was like, that's not necessarily like an endorsement, to be honest.
Sure.
Like you rejected the eventual Oscar winner when you could have had the eventual Oscar winner be at your festival.
Right. I would think you'd want the opposite approach. How do we get this film?
Yeah,
how do we make sure that
But to that point, Death of a Shadow, which was only 17 minutes long, he told me they got rejected by a ton of festivals, like a ton. And that was an Oscar nominated short. And he got told by a lot it was too long at 17. And it's a phenomenal short, original idea, fantastically made. And it's about a dude who's like in purgatory, and like death is a collector of photographs taken of shadows at the moment of their death. And he like admires the composition and all that. So
wow, that's really cool.
Like, you can see it online, I think, of thousands of these compositions. And once he has like 1,000 photos that he's gotten for his gallery that he approves of, he could go back to any time or place to live his life and stuff. Cool. And so just fantastic film. That film should not have been rejected by a single festival.
What's the sweet spot for a short film and a feature film if you're looking to program?
Here's the truth. This is the truth. And I discovered it with Comatose in all my shorts, to be frank. I'm like the king of long shorts. Comatose Mother was 33 minutes. Kiss the Devil in the Dark was 29 and a half. And Creatures of Whitechapel, I believe, is just shy of 26. So I'm like the king of shorts, like long shorts. So I know. The truth of the matter is, and you'll see this at a lot of festivals, despite what they say about, oh, well, it's too long, blah, blah, blah. Let me pull my pretension out of my ass.
That's where they keep it.
Yeah, that's where it is. And it's like a really long straw. Just coming right out.
That's not a tapeworm, kids.
Yeah. It's pretension. So anyway, coming back to it is the truth is when you look at the majority of the shorts that end up winning their respective categories, whether it's best short or best comedy short or best horror short or best drama short, whatever they call it, they're generally 15 minutes or above. They're generally the longer films.
Can I interject? I actually listened to a podcast that you were on. I can't remember the podcast, and I feel bad for it, but you had actually made a really good point about you basically said, and correct me if I'm paraphrasing your words incorrectly, but you essentially said, like, if your film is 5 minutes or under, you have a much greater chance of getting into a festival, but you won't win any awards, or you're less likely to win awards. Whereas if your film is 15 minutes or over, obviously it's gonna be harder in, but you're definitely going to be more in a award pool, because just simply for the fact that your audience is spending more time with your characters, your story. So you're more than likely going to have better chances to make connections and things like that. Do you think
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Got it.
Yeah.
Which we put to the test, but it draws closer to hell with you, because we purposely
actually
made
did
those
kind of
diff-
strategically,
and kind of A/B test it, and yeah, I got into slightly more festivals than it draws. I mean, to hell with you, but to hell with you poured off more wins.
Yeah. I mean, when you have a longer short, especially depending on what you're doing with it, yes.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, there we go. No, but especially with what you're doing it, what your plans are. Like I said, like Commodus Mother, we like threw in the kitchen sink of like the cinematography, the romp, the style, the music, and all my films have done that, right? From the makeup effects to everything. It's like they're like kitchen sink films, you know. Sometimes the costumes, all that sort of thing. You are able to be afforded that more. That's why it was a really good film. But I remember the year that I played in Oscar qualifying competition at Sitges, and again, not upset at all that I didn't see all the films. I couldn't tell you. Not upset. And you'll see that I say that a lot, right? Like, I didn't see all the films. I couldn't tell you if we were better or not than everything else. But the year that we were in the competition at Sitges, there was a short that won, and it played FilmQuest too. Very good short. That ended up winning their qualifying, because Sitges is still the only genre fest that Oscar qualifies. But it was like a 6-minute short. It was like that. Like, I didn't understand that, because I was like, even then at that time, I knew that like that's not going to get nominated. Like, it's just not. It's not going to even get shortlisted at 6 minutes. Like, you're basically throwing out there, this is the best of genre, and it's only a 6-minute short. Like, as good and as well made as it was, it's just like that's not the one, you know. And that's what it comes down to. They're just, and you get more story. You just get more story. Now, I've seen some fantastic, 10-minute under shorts that, hey, have one like best horror short, or have, overall at FilmQuest, right? But more often than not, it's the shorts that are at least about 15 minutes or more that you'll notice are the ones that win the majority of the big prizes. Maybe not the technical awards, but win the big prizes. So, keep that in mind. You might not get as much juice in your selections and stuff like that. But again, the quality of your story, the quality of everything that you bring to the success. I think overall, my lifetime acceptance rate for films at film festivals, I want to say, is between 65 and 70%, all time in the life of all my selections. So I've definitely had a lot more acceptance than rejection, even with the longer shorts. But again, this is not me saying that I think I have the best short. I'm not saying that, but I kind of know what I'm doing, because I kind of know what people are looking for. I know the experience of what they're looking for. And I want to say one more thing. I kind of was talking about it with the plan of it. And I talked about this on another podcast. Make your film with intention. Be an intentional filmmaker. You guys are absolutely intentional filmmakers. I can, there's no doubt in my mind that you're intentional filmmakers. I'm not saying that you're not coming across happy accidents and some improv and stuff like that. Like mother effing chicken tendies, that sounds like an improv, but
that was the first thing we wrote.
Yeah, maybe it was.
I was like, I don't know what this movie's about. I just want him to say this.
Yeah, tendies. But have intention. And I actually think that's the flaw with a lot of filmmaking right now in general, even at the studio space. This is not just an indie thing or a festival thing, is we are not making enough cinema with intention. And I'm not talking about good intentions or anything like that. I'm talking about being intentional, having intentional choices. You might not be this person, but storyboarding, shot listing, creating a plan, understanding your coverages, why you need those inserts, right? Be an intentional filmmaker from your story to what your goals are, to from beginning to end before you even hire your first crew member.
No, we very much carry the same. Like we edit when we write. You know what I mean? Like we're not that we're writing out directions and things in the script, but like I think we both, especially now that we've been working together for a while, our writing styles. It's like Josh has a line break here. I know that's because this moment has to be specifically this, and that's why he got this shot of it and only this shot. You know, things like that where it just translates. Where that plan that you set in motion, even from like the script phase, translates all the way through because exactly what you're saying. Josh intended it to feel this way, a certain way. So then it's like, as an editor too, like, why would I do anything differently?
Yeah.
Plus, I don't give you a lot of coverage.
No, and I prefer that, honestly.
Like
I would rather you don't.
You have no
like,
choice.
I guess to close us out, Jonathan, is there anything we haven't touched on that you'd like to impart to either filmmakers, you know, people that maybe want to make movies that haven't started yet, or just filmmakers that are already on their filmmaking journey, you know, getting into festivals, like stuff you wish you had known, maybe?
My words of wisdom to filmmakers, prospective filmmakers. I'm sure I could have another if we were doing this another day or even an hour ago or whatever it is. But right now, what's being impressed upon me is be the person and be the filmmaker and be the professional that you want others to work with and that you want to work with. Like, I don't want to elaborate at all, but I recently had an experience that took me aback, and I was very surprised. I was hurt by it, and this is in the film, you know, and I'm sure that they have their perspective and reasons for it. I felt like there was a lot of assumptions that were made and stuff like that. And I'm not going to go in and pass any judgment or anything like that, but it was disappointing, at least for me. And I'm sure from their perspective, there's some sort of disappointment in me, right, as far as it goes. And some of that comes down from, although I have my opinions about that, but is just be a professional, you know, be there on time, do what you say you're going to do, follow through. It's not always going to work out in the end, but at least be able to know that you could hold your head high, that you're the type of person that they're going to want to work with again together. But also don't get pushed around. Stand up for yourself. And if standing up for yourself results in people maybe like deciding to move on from you or choosing the party that's in the wrong, even because you stood up for yourself, well, you know what, then they were going to do that to you eventually, probably, you know, like, and that says maybe something about them too. And that's not me. This isn't me trying to get into like a state of loyalty or anything like that. That's not my purpose. It's just like, be the person that you want to work with and that people want to work with. And if you do that, you're going to have opportunities that come your way. Some that are going to surprise you, like for me, film festival opportunity and meeting other people, you know, that definitely took my career in a little bit of a different path. But now it's opened up my world to so many opportunities as a potential producer, to a collaborator, to a networker, to companies. Now I know I have distributors I can call if and when I have a feature film ready to go, or my friend's got a feature film, I can make a phone call. And I would also just say, do not forget, this is a relationship-based industry. And this is also a velvet rope industry still. You know, like you will be let in because you met the right person, or you did the right thing, or you made the right movie. And people will help you because they like you. And people don't help people they don't like. Like that's generally pretty true, but like people will not help people they don't like. So keep that in mind. Be a good person. Do things the right way. Stand up for yourself. Don't get pushed around, but also understand that sometimes you got to give too in order for everybody to at least, you know, get to the finish line. So that's what I would say.
Damn, Johnny.
Yeah.
Way to mic drop it on the way out.
Yeah, that was a mic drop. You know, it's funny because when we teed you up and you got into it and you took a pause before you started speaking, I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be good. Tell us where we can find you. Like if people want to submit to FilmQuest, obviously you're on Film Freeway. But let us know about like the Instagram socials, like where people can learn more, follow you, all that stuff.
Yeah. I'm on social media personally. I don't really use it that much these days, ever since I got hacked off it by the ISIS hack on Facebook 5 years ago. And so, but I used to have a personal Instagram. Now it's my production company, Bohemian Industries. There's obviously FilmQuest, so that's at Bohemian Industries or at FilmQuest. We're on Threads with FilmQuest. We're on Facebook with FilmQuest. If you get into FilmQuest, we have a very active secret alumni group. We will not bring you in if you just request and we don't know who you are. Sorry, we just have to do that so that people don't get spammed and stuff. We do have a Facebook group, although we don't use that as much these days, but who is? And we also have, we are on X, I guess, but whatever. And
that's the right attitude with that anymore, right?
The only thing we really use is Instagram, right? Like that's really it. And keep growing, so it's just like whatever. We are planning to start getting our YouTube channel going because we do have a lot of interviews and stuff like that.
Oh hell yeah!
Eventually, so you can find us there. You could email me directly. Just go to the FilmQuest website, which is filmquestfest.com. And you can find one of two emails there to contact me. We respond normally within 24 to 48 hours. So you can contact me, whether that's a question about the festival or maybe you want to work with me and collaborate and all that. My production company is bohemianindustries.com. And if you do have interest in the Middle East or in Indonesia, we are opening a branch of Bohemian Industries Arabia and Bohemian Industries Asia that we're also looking at. So if you happen to be global and you're looking for some opportunities over there, especially in the genre world, there's a lot we could talk about and a lot of interesting things going on as well. I'm trying to think how I was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to give you my phone number. So there's that as far as that goes. So I think that about covers it.
I'd say so. Well,
yes.
Thank you so much, man. It's been great to chat. I love that we have a ton of good stuff, and I know we barely scratched the surface on stuff, but I think this is going to be it's a good mixture of both, obviously like fun, entertaining things, but I think there's a lot of great takeaways for people, and that's been like the goal of this is really just to like give people like nice like tidbitty type stuff, but then also selfishly for us, like these are things we don't necessarily get the time to like sit down and really talk about. So we appreciate you sitting down and talk with us so that we could also benefit from it.
Yes. Well, and I'll give one little shout out, right, that I'm going to say real quick. Now that we have our new offices at what I guess is being called right now the Provo Film Studio in Provo, Utah. I'm sure there'll be a fancy name for it eventually, but right now there it is. You could reach out to me. This is a new studio and a stage, and it's a good facility, and there's going to be even better parts of that facility that's going to be part of it as the summer goes on. So if you're looking to bring a production that you need a stage for, and this is a place you can get to and you want to be a part of, and you want to film in Utah, we have great crews and we can help you on that front. Whether it's a feature film or a short film or a music video, we want you to come on out here, and that helps you also get tied in with some of our network. So if you're out there listening and you're looking for a way to get involved, definitely feel free to reach out, because you don't make the shots you don't take.